I appreciate everything with you. I tell you what, Kim was in, Mrs. Johnson, we got her out. She was very unfairly treated. And there are many other people like that.
Here we have Larry Hoover's lawyer with us today, and it's a prisoner that we're focused on. He has 6 life sentences, and they have him next to the Unabomber doing 23 and 1s. That means he's...
What did he do, Larry? What did he do?
Why is he in?
Yes, tell us.
Allegedly, it's for conspiracy from prison, from state prison. You know, it's alleged. But we do believe, even if he did commit those crimes, the sentence was overly broad and too stringent.
What was the sentence?
6 consecutive life sentences in the most secure prison in the world, also known as a clean version of hell, for basically an economic crime.
What prison is that? Name the prison.
ADX Supermax in Florence, Colorado. They house the Unabomber, Al-Qaeda operatives, mass killers, Oklahoma City bomber, things of that nature.
How old is he? How old?
68.
68 years old?
Yeah, 68 years old.
Really, the reason why they imprisoned him is because he started doing positive for the community. He started showing that he actually had power, that he wasn't just one of a monolithic voice, but he could wrap people around. So there's theories that there's infinite amounts of universe and there's alternate universe. So it's very important for me to get Hoover out, because in an alternate universe, I am him. And I have to go and get him free, because he was doing positive inside of Chicago, just like how I'm moving back to Chicago. And it's not just about, you know, getting on stage and being an entertainer and having a monolithic voice that's forced to be a specific party. You know, people expect that if you're black, you have to be Democrat. I've had conversations that basically said that welfare is the reason why a lot of black people end up being Democrat. They say, you know, first of all, it's a limit to amount of jobs. So the fathers lose the jobs, and they say, we'll give you more money for having more kids in your home. And then we got rid of the mental health institutes in the 80s and the 90s, and the prison rates just shot up. And now you have Chirac, what people call Chirac, which is actually our murder rate is going down by 20% every year. I just talked to the superintendent, met with Michael Sachs, that's Rom's right-hand man. So I think it's the bravery that helps you beat this game called life. You know, they tried to scare me to not wear this hat, my own friends, but this hat, it gives me power in a way. You know, my dad and my mom separated, so I didn't have a lot of male energy in my home. And also, I'm married to a family that, you know, not a lot of male energy going on. It's beautiful, though.
Mind you, this young man represents
What?
He's representing the black community.
Nope.
In the
No, he's not.
Wait a minute.
You already know you can't get away with that.
He represents himself.
It's blinding me. Can they get this light off me? It's blinding me.
Anyway, what I'm saying. No, sit down.
No, you didn't hear me. The light is blinding me, I'm saying.
Okay.
Tell me to turn that down, or like...
They got to balance out the shot.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that you watch Kanye, and he's there supposedly representing black people for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is in the mode of showing the world that he's not a racist. So that's one of the reasons Kanye is there. Now they can see that he's got a black man in front of him who he's trying to promote getting people out of prison, as Kim Kardashian came and got somebody out of prison. I forgot who it was. But you've got black people who actually feel more comfortable with Donald Trump. Now it's too dark.
Yeah, you can't even see the dark.
Let's light a candle.
Flashlights? No, we got our flashlights, right?
Want to bring up the lights, please?
Well, anyway,
They were heroes.
Donald Trump is, I mean, a lot of people who feel comfortable seeing a black man in front of Donald Trump, being that.
I don't feel comfortable with that.
What was I trying to say? What I'm trying to say that this is all a big sham, and you can see how he goes on and on about alternate universe, and And I mean, he's in his own world. You can tell by his lyrics. I know a lot of people like his music, but I'm old school. I want to hear somebody sing. You know, I want to carry a tune. And he wears dresses, and he's sort of strange. So what say ye, folks, about this entertainer turned politician? I don't know why Jim Brown, the greatest running back that exists on the planet, sitting there next to him.
He was confused, if you look at his face.
Yes, he was confused by what Kanye was saying. I should have played more of that, because it's kind of weird the way he talks. Alternate universe, you heard that much.
Oh, man,
all right?
yeah.
What say you?
He needs help. He needs professional help.
He needs more black people around
funny.
him.
None of that is funny. The guy needs help. He needs professional help. And the fact that this or any president would take the time to waste our taxpayer money listening to that tells you a lot about not just Kanye, but it tells you about the president. This man has done far too little of no work in the last year and 3 quarters. Nobody that is in serious business is going to sit down and entertain that foolishness, right? Everybody has an opinion, to be respected, to be honored, whatever. But pure insanity is what it is. It speaks for itself. Kanye has for a long time been in another orbit. Mm-hmm. We know that prior to his mother's death, there were things going on there.
Yeah.
And since his mother died, it's only gotten worse. Right?
He's bipolar.
He needs professional help.
You
It's
think
not even funny.
Right.
And it shows you the mentality of Trump to bring him and put him in front of cameras and expose him in this way. Also, his wife.
What is he trying to do when he does that? He's trying to show he's not a racist?
You can't show that you're not a racist. The way you live
actions
proves that. But Kanye's wife, I don't know what she can do to influence him, but there's little to nothing going on there. And that's not a bastion of high intelligence on that side either, because there's no talent in that family. Going back, the brother needs help. He should be getting professional help. I look at that like Mike Tyson with Robin Givens.
You know, I think it's also, he's not cultured. When I would say Kanye, when he first came out, and he was cultured, he was around more blacks all the time. He was, I'd say he was more centered with the community. And now he's nowhere to be found. And yet,
universe.
And I mean, just not in a physical sense. He's not in the presence and acclamation of black society. And when I mean black society, I'm talking not just the impoverished side or the well-to-do. He's just not present. He doesn't have any of that in his family. I doubt if he has an uncle that is smacking him upside the head and say, hey, what are you talking about? This man that you want to represent, whether you want to be a Republican or not, this man that you're trying to say is what he says in that video is, this is like a father to me.
Yeah.
A superhero, he said.
Right.
And I think that mindset just speaks towards his mental health. It's not stable. But if you look at the expression on 45 on his face, he knew when this guy was talking, you could read the expression on his face like, wow, this guy, one, talks forever, where this is not getting nowhere, but then, man, this guy's making a fool of himself, makes me look good. Because not only am I sitting in front of this man who's loved and liked, or used to be loved and liked by the world, but he's sitting with me, calling me his stand-in father, and that he loves me. And I didn't say it back to him. He actually, Trump said, I like these men. These are good men. And then Kanye jumped in, wanting to be loved and favored, maybe the loss of his mom, maybe the loss of having actual family in his life. because everyone abandoned him once he started.
He's got the Kardashians. I mean, who could he love more than
That's
that?
not his
nothing.
family.
That's
That's not
absolutely
his family.
And see, and then one other thing is that, I mean, this dog and pony show that, you know, was heaped upon the public, I mean, to me it's a disrespect,
Yeah.
okay? I mean, it's a disrespect. First of all, okay, I respect him for what he is as a musician, okay? And I think that he should stay in his lane, okay? That was not his lane, to sit there and pretend as though he was representative of the black population, and especially as it relates to criminal justice issues. He's not a part of that arena. He has not been an outspoken spokesperson for criminal justice reform. He's out of his league. He should not have even been there, right? And to have him sit there and with this clown hat, I call it a clown hat, on his head, to sit there and pretend to speak for our populace of people, and I mean, to me, it was disrespect. I
You
look
know
at
what,
disrespect.
The
I mean,
gentleman
he
who
should have
spoke
stayed in his
before
lane.
him, the gentleman who was speaking before him, that attorney, is the one that should have been talking. All right? But the entire meeting was wasted on stupidity and foolishness.
What got done?
There was Trump totally forgot about what the attorney was talking about, and everybody has focused on Kanye. So it was a waste of time. You don't always need a big name person to move your agenda forward.
Thank you.
That was a detriment to the agenda at hand because no one is talking about the issue of prison reform. They're talking about Kanye West. It ain't about Kanye
He talked about
West.
his Nike, his Adidas
Right. The
deal,
company,
the fact that he's going back to Chirac and all this
deal.
other stuff. All this
And
was
invest
a
$200
load-
million
yeah,
on jobs
and how he
for
made all this money. I think it was like 300 million. And guess
Right.
what? All of that is made off of using our community, because who really buys name brand
Right.
products?
So
Not-
you watched the whole thing?
I watched the whole thing a long
Okay.
time ago when he first came and had this interview.
I mean, it's
And-
only last week.
I mean, well, yeah. And what seems like forever, because they talk about it prevalently and so
Every
much in the
day.
news, MSNBC, every time you hear about it. So, and anything, and that's the problem. Anything that's done that comes out of Trump's anything, mouth or text or tweet, gets so much news coverage. Yet we have infinite problems going on
Right.
in society as a whole, collective in this nation. That why
Gets
is it
no
that he
airplay.
gets first dib on anything?
You see no intellectual black people ever in the presence of this guy. None. None. Not one. You can't name an intellectual black person that
Been
will
there.
sit down or has been invited to sit down with this president and give him guidance. Not that he wants it. All right?
Not that he wants it. Yeah.
Ben Carson, skip it. Another empty box.
Right.
Yeah.
So you will not even see, and take a look, you will not even see a black Secret Service agent guarding this man.
That's right.
You will not.
Well, what do you think of this?
There
You
are
should
no
highlight
blacks.
that point.
I'm highlighting it right now. 'Cause
Right.
I've been,
Thank you.
I was around with
It's out
Obama
there.
and his group.
It's
you
out
don't,
there.
You don't
Well,
see
what
any
what
black
about
agents.
what's happened in the last couple of days with the murder and and Trump's backing up the Saudis? I mean, I think this is the straw that will break the camel's back, because I don't know how the Republicans can back him up on this. Everybody knows about his monies associated with the Russians, but then he makes it plain to everybody how much the Saudis have helped him. All right?
You know, I actually not for nothing, but as we just been was talking about, we won't even on two parts. We won't even be at the table with Trump, and you haven't seen anyone of intellectual.
Prowess.
Yes, being at the table. So why are we even talking, giving him any validity? I think Manhattan News Network
Because
has
we need to get rid of him.
in-house.
That's right.
It has an
I
in-house
mean, we need
responsive-
people to get out to vote November 6th. How
yeah.
important is this? This is our lives. This man is making a buffoon of everybody. We just went through the embarrassment of Kanye. Now he's sticking
I
with
didn't
the
go through it.
Arab.
He doesn't represent anything I go through.
But still.
what I go through is what we deal with in New York City, and as a black people as a whole,
But still.
which is the murders that is actually happening in
Okay.
the Bronx, New York. I don't want to talk about Saudi and fixing other people's backyards until we fix our own. We constantly do that. Churches always do that. It's a good cause, but in New York City, we have disenfranchisement that gets spoken about, but not enough in the right way. We have murders like in the Bronx, where I mean they're gentrifying every city in New York and getting into the Bronx, and they're using our behaviors and our lack of everything to then move in on. Like, oh, okay, well, you know what? We're going to let you continue killing yourselves off because there's no programs in a 6-mile radius.
Right.
So what we're going to do is make sure you have nothing. You kill off yourselves, and then we put we invest a lot of money in our police system to police these neighborhoods.
The point is, there'll be none as long as Donald Trump is president. All right?
There'll be
we
no
got to
programs as
concentrate
long
on
as
getting
we.
rid of this man.
Well,
We got to concentrate
on the
on getting
local
rid of this man.
Well, yeah.
On the local level, you have to hold your mayor, city council
Okay,
persons
all right.
accountable. They're talking about Mike Bloomberg. Scrap Mike. Somebody asked me a few days ago.
He
I
just
said,
turned Democrat, didn't he?
Yeah, he turns everything. you know? So I said, it was somebody from our state. I said, forget about Mike Bloomberg. The guy's not a Democrat. He's always been a Republican. He's anti-labor, anti-union, anti-small guy. He's no different than Trump, just another suit, all right? When you look at this guy, look at what he did to the Board of Education.
Yeah.
Mayoral control
Right,
over the schools.
right,
He
right.
wrecked
That's
the Board
illegal,
of Education.
actually.
Ruined the Board of Education. The
Right.
children are not educated. They're not qualified to get into college under his system. When I was lecturing at John Jay, there was a student there, and I said this before, taking remedial math, and I asked him, what are you taking? Not at John Jay, this was at Mega Evers.
Okay.
I said, what are you taking in remedial math? He said, algebra. I had algebra in junior high school. And this is under the Bloomberg system. Bloomberg was bringing white teachers from the Midwest to
Right,
New York
right,
Yep.
right,
to
right.
work so that their student loans could be wiped out.
Right.
Come here and work for 5 years, and your student loans are wiped out.
Well, you have people that have student loans 10, 15, 20,
Right.
25 years later.
He wrecked the Board of Education, wrecked the school system, talked about they weren't going to do this promotional, these programs of just promoting kids and promoting them. He did the same thing.
His racist agenda has even surpassed the Department of Education and totally influenced the police departments. How
He
they
never
police.
spoke against stop and frisk. Ray
Never.
Kelly was the commissioner.
He said it was
He
actually
never
good
spoke about
for.
it.
He said it was actually good for us, even
All right.
after research came out that stop and frisk was a fail.
And the Attorney General of New York State said it was improper. Spitzer said that 14 years ago. So Ray Kelly was allowed by Bloomberg to continue with
Yep.
stop and frisk when the Attorney General, who is the head of law enforcement of the state, said, wrong, the whole process is wrong the way it's being implemented. Bloomberg, his name need not be stated regarding any national election.
And just one thing, I want to just mention one thing. Speak to what you said, and also you, Hakeem, and why Winston. And I think I sort of like agree with him. Like you say, we need to say Trump's name, because you know what? If we don't continue to say his name and bring attention to his miserable policies, and that how it very much it is important for us to get engaged in the political process, because that's how we get rid of these people that don't represent our interests. Now, to speak to what's going on into our community, that's a critical matter, and it definitely needs to be addressed, right?
Well, let's
do that?
remind the people of why Hakeem is here. Would you play number 2? And we'll get a little reason for us talking about the criminal system. All right? Run.
His own words.
You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but the way the system is you're guilty till proven innocent.
Little did we know Khalif Browder was already dying inside the day we met him. At the easy age of 22, he'd already learned more about America's criminal justice system and endured more than any soul should ever have to. That's Khalif there on the floor inside Rikers Island, New York City's most notorious jail, beaten by a gang of fellow inmates, all caught on camera. At the age of 16, he was arrested and sent here for allegedly stealing a backpack.
It was like hell on earth. We were beaten, stomped by the correction officers, and they was just beating on me. They was just beating on me.
Beatings captured on surveillance video obtained by the New Yorker magazine, which first brought Khalif's story to light. In this video, we see him being escorted to the prison shower. He appears to speak to the guard, who in seconds is seen slamming him into a wall and then to the ground.
And I cried myself to sleep because it's like, I want to go home, and it's like they're not letting me go home.
To go home, Khalif's mother, Vanita Browder, needed to post bail of $3,000. Money, she said, she just didn't have.
What was your reaction when you heard that your 16-year-old boy was being sent to Rikers Island?
My heart dropped. You know, I had heard so many horror stories about Rikers, and all I could picture was him getting hurt in there.
Court records show Khalif had attempted suicide at least 6 times, spent 1,110 days behind bars, more than 800 of those in solitary confinement. His court date postponed more than 30 times. He endured all this having never been given a trial, never convicted of a crime. Finally, in June of 2013, all charges against Khalif were dismissed. But his experience exposed a troubled criminal justice system and the brutality of life behind bars.
I think at some point, almost a reckless disregard by the prosecutors in this case. They didn't care, Byron. They saw his file. They saw that he was in jail. And he'd probably take a plea, and they were hoping he'd take a plea. The judge told me that if I plead guilty, I would release from jail that same day. But I didn't do it. You're not gonna make me say I did something just so I could go home.
When we first met him, November of last year, he was doing better, he said. Earned his GED, started classes at Bronx Community College, pulling a 3.56 GPA. But the psychological trauma from jail had taken its toll.
And when he first came home, he would just walk the 4 corners of the driveway.
You hear animals do that have been confined to a space.
Yes, he did it. And I had to watch my baby go through all of that.
In the last year, Khalif grew depressed, deeply paranoid.
You know, deep down, I'm a mess. I feel like I'm a grown, old man.
And then 2 Saturdays ago, 2 years after his release from jail, Khalif Browder hanged himself with an air conditioner cord in his home in the Bronx. He was 22.
I didn't know what to do. Can you imagine finding your son and he's hanging with his head back?
Khalif's death made national news, and messages of outrage mixed with sympathy flooded social media. John Legend wrote in an op-ed that New York failed Khalif. Lena Dunham Instagrammed his photo and called for reform. Our interview with Khalif went viral on Facebook.
Welcome back, Hakeem. I mean, that's a personal story for you, and that's the reason we're here. To fight the injustice of the criminal justice system. Injustice system.
Mm-hmm. Unjust.
And unjust. What does it feel? Don't ask you, we feel the way with you. That's when this crusade that you're on to bail out people in the system is that you've started, and I understand you're getting quite successful with it. Tell us the story.
The whole concept of doing this mass bailout started one on a grassroots end because when I ran for mayor last year, my goal was to shut down Rikers, and I came out with a 3-year plan.
Okay.
Although this current mayor who won the election said he wants to do a 10-year shutdown of Rikers.
Mm-hmm.
But the concept is really just, one, if we can, it had nothing to do with the cause and the effect are 2 different things. The cause to shut down Rikers was not what we were aiming for. The cause was to say, if we can prove to this mayor that it doesn't take 10 years by shutting down 1 or 2 of the facilities, how can we do that? Because shutting down one jail, which is the smallest, which is Rosie's, shutting down that jail It costs $5.7 million a year to run. Without, and this is just running the facility, with staffing, keeping the lights on.
Okay.
That's a huge amount.
Okay.
Wouldn't you say? And yet,
How many
to,
people we
to
talking?
shut
That's
down,
not including salaries.
that's not including
Oh,
salaries.
that's
no.
not including
No,
salaries?
no, it's
Oh,
not.
Okay.
Soap,
Just-
toothpaste,
Yes.
food, heating,
Sheets.
electricity,
How many
the
people
lights
we
on,
talking about?
laundry.
In Rosie's, there's no more than 620.
Okay.
It's 620 something.
Okay.
But what happens is, if we could shut down that building, and then force the mayor to divest those funds into community programs where it'll help and keep those communities where you're arresting and doing the incarceration, get those communities programs, get them services, because we're tired of seeing our family members get locked up and then still nothing in the community. Maybe they got locked up for robbing a store because they're hungry.
Right.
Maybe they got locked up for something petty or violent. But we wanted to help the community, and in a way that says we can do it on our own. So what we did was, one, I reached out to a few tech billionaires that we know. We partnered with organizations like Vera Institute, who has the information and the research on everything for New York. And then other organizations like RFK Foundation, and they put it to development. But like I said, the goal is, if we can prove, which we've been doing, we've been ever since the beginning of this month, we've been bailing out women because the judge already said you can go home. The other part of that is you can go home if you had this amount of money. So the judge already created a way, and if everyone had that money, they would be home.
So what kind of money are we talking?
So we wanted to show no discrimination. We got referrals from the DA's office.
Okay.
Because we're also partnered with the Bronx Defenders, Brooklyn Defenders Legal Aid Society.
Well, you just didn't pick out black folks.
No,
Is that what you're saying?
if we only shut down Rikers by bailing out black
Oh,
folk, then there'll
okay.
still be people there.
Right.
Because it's not all black, but
Right.
it is majority us.
Okay.
So what we wanted to do is no discrimination. Give us the names, give us their docket numbers, let us go bail them out,
Okay.
as the organization RFK already does, but at a mass bailout.
Wow.
And then provide them services. So what we did was not only just bail them out, but we provided we gave a release plan. So
Wow.
we
This is fascinating.
have a welcome center
That's
to
great.
welcome them when they come home, and to give them the services that they need to be successful. Because we're showing that we have a successful way of release by giving them a care package when they come when they leave, which is we gave monthly Metro cards, cell phones so that we can keep in contact with them,
Wow.
but then also a real release plan to help them make sure they go into court, because your percentage of staying out and getting a better opportunity is highly based on if you have access to proper health or to going to an attorney's office. But you can't do that on Rikers.
So what you're doing is you're doing for other people what you like to have seen done for your brother.
Absolutely.
Which
Absolutely.
is, your mother's so proud of you, man. I'm telling you.
And
I was just going to ask, well, how long has the program been in place? And a person is out on bail. Have any of your people absconded? And none.
so here's the funny thing. We're only doing it, not funny, but we raised $6 million.
$6 million.
$6 million, yeah, dollars.
Wow.
Pesos, no. So in doing that, it's all off loan. So these people are expecting them, not 100%, but it's basically off loans. They're getting their money back. As long as we showed them through our grant that we can make sure we stay in touch with them. So we have court support, court advocacy to make sure they're going to court.
Right.
Because we also know that some of these people that we're releasing will have a better opportunity to negotiate their plea bargain. And so not everyone is innocent. Listen, we do not validate criminality.
Okay.
We're not in support. Don't let anyone fool you. I hope everyone listening understands that we know there is crime. And that's really because of a statement that I literally came up with just 2 days ago. It's the criminalization of poverty trauma, and race. So if in all totality, if these people are poor, give them the resources or the tools so that they can be successful, so that we can erase that kind of poverty gap where if you only have $2.75 in your pocket and you have to go to work, but you're hungry, well, I'm gonna hop the turnstile and I'm gonna get arrested.
Right.
Or I'm gonna just do it the right way and swipe myself in the so-called appropriate way and then starve the rest of the day because I'm poor and I'm trying to get my little job. So long story short, we wanted to show a real release plan. We wanted to show the city that once we do this only for the month of October, that's the other thing, because we wanted to make a statement before the election. And so for the month of October, every day we're bailing out youth and women alike. No discrimination. As long as they have a bail, the judge said you are bailable.
Okay.
The judge could have said you're not, and he or she does. When a person is not bailable, you can't get bailed out.
Right.
They probably felt you were too much of a flight risk or a threat to society and didn't give you a bail. So what the public needs to understand or should understand is if the judge already said it, we're just fulfilling that family's wish of having that family back with their family member.
Well, what's the average bail? Like your brother's bail was $3,000.
Yeah.
But all you need to do is put up
900.
$300. 900 on
yeah.
a $3,000 bill. I thought it was 10%.
No.
No?
It was years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 10%
It was
Well, my
10%.
brother's was 900,
at the time.
cash over bond.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the average bail is what? 3,000, 5,000?
No, actually, we found people with $500 bills. What happens?
$500 bail.
People can't pay it. We're living in the poorest congressional district in America, the Bronx.
Okay.
In that poor district, you find people, and Vera has done research studies on this, that people could not even afford, one, their rent, but if they could afford their rent, they couldn't afford the health care that they need for their children. Or they couldn't afford sitters to watch their kids, so they would go to work in hopes that that kid is fine at home.
Right.
And then they become a latchkey kid because their parents got arrested.
Or God forbid, as with it's happened a number of times, the parent went to work, something happened, the place caught fire, and the parent is charged with child endangerment or homicide because the child died in a fire.
And the parents locked up.
The parent is arrested. The parent had to go to work. I remember a woman. It was heart-wrenching. She had to go to work. All she had was a little job at McDonald's. She left her little girl at home and went to McDonald's. Somehow they found out she was arrested. So who's taking care of her child now?
Exactly.
You don't want ACS trying to take care. ACS, that's like giving your kid to those people down there on the border. You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
we have people in such a straight jacket situation
Hands tied.
where, number one, they can't make a decent wage and live in New York. Why is anybody paying $3,000 to $5,000 a month rent in the city? Only because of greed. Only because of greed. The property is not worth it.
No.
It's not. No property is worth you spending $5,000 a
Facts.
month on it. No.
On top of that, minimum wage should not equate to, minimum wage should be the minimum amount standard for you to live and pay your bills and
In this region.
minimum, but
Right.
we have minimum wage that is not even enough to pay for your minimum standard living.
$15 an hour.
And we don't have $15 an hour. Actually, we have the law passed, but you have to wait 2 years for that to be enacted. And so,
You can't live on $15 an
No.
hour.
Not here. That's
not
for sure.
anywhere.
No.
That's right.
No, because 15 times 4 is only $600 a week. 6 times 4 is $2,400 a week. So how do you pay rent, get to work, buy food? God help you if you have a child, or a child, I just said.
Yeah.
How do you make it?
Do laundry.
It's unconscionable.
do laundry.
Right. It's unconscionable. And we are placing people in these straits. And young people, listen to me. All the more that you need to handle your business. Don't talk about the white man. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan said at the
yes.
Million Man March, don't worry about what the white man's doing. What are you doing? Put down those damn cell phones, playing the games, all that social media, It's not taking you anyplace. You need to prepare yourself for ages 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and it starts now. It doesn't start when you get there when you're standing on the street corner. You've seen that already. You have to put in your sweat equity to get where you want to be. No, you don't want to be a ball player, all right? That's plantation ethics. You don't want to be a rapper.
Not
All of
everybody's
that
50
nonsense.
Cent.
Forget that.
Don't have them skills.
You need to get around and see. Everything you see around you had to be made. It had to be designed, all right? Every little piece of that stand holding up that camera had to be designed and fabricated by a machinist. There are so many jobs out there that our kids don't know about, but they're spending their time with entertainment. All right, this is not a minstrel show. Minstrel show. So if you don't want to wind up on the short end of the stick, you got to start preparing yourself now.
However, we are talking about criminal justice, right?
Right.
And realistically, our kids, I mean, as shown as statistically, analytically, our kids are undeservingly being locked up and their futures are being thrown away by having a felony. And that, if one end, the financial system of New York is saying, don't have kids, because minimum wage is all you're gonna get, and you can't afford to have a child. But if you do have a child, and when because you're gonna have a child, because you don't even have the proper education to understand how to protect yourselves or how to even formulate a family in the long run, but you're gonna have a child. So since we have something for that too. Now, yeah, we can listen to what you said, and it's heated and understood, but not really, because if I already have a felony, you're telling me to get a job where they're gonna discriminate me. And they're gonna discriminate me and use my felony to say, sorry, we can't hire you, but there may be somebody else that would. And you're gonna go back and forth. Like, listen, I have a felony in my record. And I, as an engineer with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, I find it extremely hard to have a degree and still get a decent paying job with a bachelor degree and 10 years experience.
All right. Now we're trying to reach the political people in New York State to, legislate some of these programs that you're trying to develop, right? And we have
Already
Brian.
developed.
You have legislation in the works.
The programs that's already developed.
Already developed.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
up and running. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is already a freight train running.
Okay. All right.
We don't. We started the program, or this mass bailout.
Okay.
Back the concept of it back at the beginning of this year in January.
In January.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we worked out.
So you just
where
need funding.
funding,
And-
support, and more than
support
funding,
services.
what we really need is, I need people that are already either known or have the ability to write, to do op-eds for us.
Okay.
To write about what it really means, not what the media is putting out that these kids that now are transferred to Horizons in the Bronx are they're animals, they're fighting every day. Well, look at the situation and understand that, well, one, for the first 3 days, they didn't even have a bed, so they were in bullpens. We were there at the facility to bail them out, and they didn't allow us to bail them out because they said, we don't have a number for that person. We don't have a
They
bed
weren't
for
in the
that number, so
system.
they don't have a number. So that child had to wait until
He got a bed.
It was in
he
the
had a
system.
bed.
Right.
But now that then Wednesday came, and first of all, it takes about 7 hours to bail someone out.
Right.
And
Okay.
so you can't just say, I'm going to bail out everyone right in this moment. So it's 7 hours, and if you have 4 people coming, because we need people to bail out, so we have volunteer lists up the yin yang.
Okay.
What we do need is, instead of this negative media from the Post reporting on what's good for the government, which is fear-mongering, saying that these kids are fighting and they're getting into fights and they're beating up officers. That's not true. What happened is they put them in bullpens. We know what bullpen therapy is.
Right.
They put them in bullpens, waiting for their bed for 3 days. People stink because they're sweaty in a bullpen.
Right.
And then on top of that, they're getting fed in a bullpen. They're mixing youth that might be blood, that might be Crip, that might be like Khalif, we're no gang.
Right.
And yet they have them all together. What do you think is going to happen? But then the officers that they reported that were beat up from these kids when you actually look at them, and I took pictures from them, their hands were wrapped. Now, what do you have your hand wrapped for? And you're claiming, I mean, one of them got a broken nose. So he probably, we can assume that he got hurt somehow. However, the 3 that we saw with a broken knuckles, that's because they were punching these kids. I mean, what else? How could they get their hand broke? But they weren't allowed to speak to the media. We weren't allowed to actually take pictures of the youth. I wonder what that kid's face looks like. Does he look like Emmett Till? Does he look like something worse? But we only get one side of the story, so we need us to actually represent by our words, our artistry, our videos, our videography, people like you that's telling these stories. Let us get that out there so the public can understand these are not terrorists. Don't make our kids terrorists all the time. Let them be the youth that they are. They need programming, they need support, they need peer counseling, they need transitional coaches. Going from a facility like Rikers to a facility that's supposed to be OCFS but run by DOC because they brought 570 officers, correctional officers that these kids were in fear of. These kids are in fear of these officers and they thought they were escaping them. But then they brought 574 officers from Department of Corrections to work now at Horizon.
And guess what? And here's the other piece
How
of that.
many kids were there?
Only 300 some odd. I forgot. A little more than 300.
And here's just to add to a little piece of that, just to speak to the part about the mentality of the culture of being in these types of facilities. So now, all of a sudden, that they kids, just dust up. Oh, we need pepper spray. We need to have pepper spray now because these kids, we're in fear now. We need to have another system of control on these. Wow. So now they've given them, I forgot how much of a supply of pepper spray. But just to mention one thing, and like Hakeem said, is what's needed, right? And this is why it's so very important for those of us in the criminal justice reform arena. Like I'm on another end of the component because I do legislation. My thing is laws, to put laws in place, right? And to go along with the services to sort of like we have to be able to make this connection, because in order for all this to happen, of course there needs to be an amount of funding. That's important, because without the funding, it just doesn't happen, right? And in order for this to happen, like Winston, you made mention to why it's so important for us to be politically engaged, right? And I'm just going to say something before we run out of time, because I think that is important, and people need to hear this and they need to know it. People that are now on parole in New York State have the right to vote. As a result of executive order signed by Governor Cuomo in April, executive order, and it's 181, you can look it up. People on parole now have a right to vote. They have been given a conditional pardon that is only pertaining to their rights to vote. They have to register to vote. Of course, the deadline for registration passed October 12th, but it does not mean that you can't register to vote. I think that is so important, and especially for this particular population of people who have been so disenfranchised for so long a period of time. Now you have the power to change. You have the power to have a say-so in what policies, what laws that affect your lives, because mostly it's on the local level. So it's so very important that we, and I'm saying we, I always include myself, although I'm not in prison, right? I've been home 20 years, but I always consider myself the part of we, because it's the collateral damages that Hakeem talked about that felony on your record. Always that discrimination, always that, oh, you got a felony, you can't have the job. But you got 15 or 20 years experience in this particular field. You got a degree in this particular field, but no, you can't do this job because you have what? A felony on your record. Right. We can change that. And how do we change that? Legislation.
You know, there's another aspect about this transfer of these youth, right? We might think that it's a glorious thing, like we can applaud the fact that these youth are now off of Rikers. However, they waited till October to bring these youth off, which was the enactment of this bill for Raise the Age. And then we have to, consider the fact that it costs money to transfer these youth on a spur of the moment, because first of all, they didn't even have the plan or anything enacted to make this happen, meaning they didn't hire the educational staff that's necessary to provide the mandatory education that these youth, now considered youth, are mandatory to supposed to be equipped with, educators. Now, since they didn't have the teachers, but they transferred them, that's a transfer that costs us money, even though the plan isn't even fully or even nearly created or funded or executed. But then they're also going to be transferring them back before the end of this year. You know why? Because these are youth that are not allowed to be on Riker in OCFS or Horizons as long as they're after 18. They have to be transferred. Most of them are, more than half of them are turning 18 before the end of this year. So now we're going to be transferring them back.
OCFS, could you tell our
Office
people?
of Children and Family Services.
Okay.
This facility is an OCFS facility, but yet run by DOC, Department of Corrections.
Explain that.
That's the kick
Department
I
of
wanted to get
Corrections
to.
has only the ability to deal with, in their own right, they've only dealt with, or they're only equipped to deal with adults.
18 and
Okay.
OCFS, Office of Children and Family Services, has the long history of dealing with youth that are
Okay.
in these facilities. They have the programs, but they had a jurisdictional problem.
And
But
that's
since
Rikers
October
Island?
came,
And
they
that's
didn't-
Rikers.
Right? No, OCFS is Horizons, and it's not that many. It's the youth facilities. That's
So for people under 18 years
under
old.
18 years old.
Okay.
16 and 17 year
Well,
olds.
what's Rikers? Who's
Rikers is for adults.
Adults. Well, even
But
though they have a juvenile component.
They have
yeah.
a juvenile unit on Rikers Island.
Which is
Okay.
now considered 18 and up. So as long
But,
as they're turning 18,
Khalif was 16. when
Khalif was 16 and they had him on Rikers because
Right.
they have a juvenile.
Juvenile
but now
facility.
after raise the age,
Okay.
they now have that aspect where 16 and 17-year-olds won't be on Rikers, but like I said, the transfer of all these youth to Horizon so that they can be considered youth, they enacted it, which it was 2 years ago to that date, October, where the bill, or a year, right? It was last year they
Last
passed
year.
the bill. So a year later, these youth are now turning 18. So
gonna
now
be
they're
right
going to
back.
transfer these kids back to Rikers. It's a fiscal problem,
Okay.
and yet we applauded the governor for something that, and then the mayor took more applause for him getting it done, but he didn't get it done. When you don't have, like the court cases that went from criminal court to now family
Family
court,
court.
those cases had to have the administrative staff to handle those cases.
Well, how is
Right.
criminal? How are?
So if
you
they are-
lost me there. You lost me there.
If I arrest a young
You're taking
person,
somebody from criminal court and you put it in family court?
a case
Because-
can
Yeah.
be downgraded by a judge. Let's say I arrest a boy for robbery.
Okay.
Thank you for saying boy.
He's 15.
Yeah. Right.
Right? Take him in, and they will say, all right, it's armed robbery.
Armed robbery.
Say it's
He's got a
armed
pistol
robbery.
on it.
The
Okay.
judge has the option in criminal court to flip that case back over to family court. Depending upon the situations, you have what's called ROR.
Yes.
When you're arrested, you are interviewed by civilian personnel who are working with the Department of Probation. They
Okay.
want to know where you live, where do you work, who do you live with, blah, blah, blah. And they want background information on you.
Yep.
When that package is put together, probation gives a recommendation to the court on everybody. But if it's a young fella, they might say to the judge, well, you know, it is a violent crime, but we think it would be better that it was referred back to family court. And then the case will go back to family court. And in family court, he will be represented by an attorney, but they don't call the young fellow a defendant. They call him a respondent, all right? And he has an advocate to represent him in court.
Because basically, they don't. When you're reading a rights to a person like Khalif,
Yeah.
he doesn't understand that. He doesn't know
Of
what it
course.
means
Right,
to
right,
give up your rights and take a plea bargain, which is going to give up all your rights and leave you at the mercy of the court, who does not have your best interest at heart. So
he didn't do anything wrong, so
But
why should he take a
he
plea?
shouldn't also have to understand a thing that even adults don't understand when it comes to the technical,
Right.
the technical verbiage of court. In an adult arena, they are children. Let them stay children and have the mindset of a child, because they can't have a mindset of an adult until they're an adult. So in that case, they are represented, and they're not forced to have representation by someone that their parents have to pay for. They're given representation as a respondent to a complaint.
I'm thinking of the novice or the naive person or somebody that knows nothing about the criminal justice system.
As your mother.
Yes.
You know, and you walk in there and you see the injustice and you're flabbergasted to think that this stuff goes on. As much as I know about it, I'm still amazed at some of the crap that goes down. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
You know, today I'm coming from court. I do court advocacy and court watch.
Oh, you're
So
busy.
we're
Oh,
in court 4 days a week, watching the process, but also having a presence. Because what happens is, say this brother is in court and he's coming in from Rikers and he doesn't see any family or any faces that's familiar.
Right.
It could be intimidating because that court process, you have the prosecutors by the dozens there. You have like at least 6 prosecutors, even though that's not how it's supposed to be. But the Bronx Criminal Court, they usually have 4 prosecutors in front. One of them is reading off the charges, the case in AP1, the arraignment court. But what happens is you're coming there and you feel like, man, what you don't know what kind of crap show this is going on. And you don't see anyone in the audience in your support. This is what we're here for. We want to be there, but what we also do is question the DA. We make our presence known. And so this case that you're representing, and then we ask questions so that that person knows he or she has support in the court. That DA then feels intimidated sometimes, or sometimes they're just bold. Most of the times they're bold.
And don't care.
Because we do it in Queens and the Bronx. And those judges in the Bronx, really, I mean, not just the judges, but the prosecutor, they'll run their show the way they want it. And then take 2-hour lunches, and then when they come back, 45 minutes later, they're taking their first case, and that person is forced to try and hurry up and take a plea bargain.
Well, how amazed are you about the injustice?
Not at all. This is the way the system was designed.
Okay.
Well, it's up to us not to sit there and only put onus on the government, the elected officials, to pass bills, because that was one aspect. That's just one aspect of it. But we are in a community. That means we can fundraise ourselves and provide for ourselves. So we have programs with the Khalid Browder Foundation that we try to encourage. Listen, if you want your kid to have a better opportunity, or at least we want to provide those privileges, the tools to help them, because we don't come with privileges. If I was born in a different community with a different financial state of income, then I would probably more than likely have some kind of privileges and or opportunities.
Right.
We don't have that. And so we want to provide that, but it takes community support. We have over 2 million supporters on our network, in our roster that signed up. And yet, if everyone gave $1, that's $2 million. Right. Look at the work, the services that can help.
And that speaks
I wanted to show Brian Benjamin. I think he's one of your advocates. I have a short piece by him. He was at the huddle, number 3. You run that real quick before we go out. And he's a state senator, and I think he's on your side, right? Hopefully.
He's working on it, right?
Mississippi, Alabama, you name it, everybody's at risk. Texas they nervous over there in Texas, and y'all wonder why white folks are scared. Now listen, I mean, I don't want to get too racist because racial because I'm a state senator and I gotta be, and I have a diverse district. But here's what I'm saying. Y'all get me started. National Action Network. Oh man, justice no peace. Y'all get me going here. I gotta stop. Y'all get me stalled, man. Y'all get me in trouble. But no, but in all seriousness, I was just with Kirsten. We were over there at 84th and 3rd. We got folks, Proud Boys. Where these people come from? They over here harassing protesters who are protesting fascism, Nazism. They out there beating people up. Like, what? You come to New York and play. Anyway, I'm sorry. I told y'all. I promise you finish. I'm done. Listen, y'all. We gotta fight, and we gotta fight together because our lives depend on it. And so I just felt like I wanted to listen because I'm running unopposed, so I will be reelected. Thank you. But one of the things I want to do before I go back to Albany in January, I just want to go around the district and just listen to what's going on, hear what people are saying, hear what you guys are talking about. So that's why I came. I just want to kind of hear what y'all are talking about.
That's one question.
But, oh yes, and that's it.
about Akeem Browder and the bailout?
Yes, of course.
And the bailout?
Yeah.
You know about the system Akeem Browder is starting?
Well, Akeem Browder, who's Khalif Browder's brother,
Right.
is working with the RFK group and others to try to facilitate mass bailouts. Is that what you're referring to?
Right.
Yes. My position is we should upend the whole system at its core. We should not have cash bail to begin with. There is no correlation with you paying $1,000, $1,500, whatever it is, and you coming back to court. If you are someone who people worried might kill someone, or you were accused of I don't know, doing something that's quote unquote heinous, they already have mechanisms to not allow you to get out anyway, right? Bail is not the answer for that. So it's really a stupid thing as it is. And once the Democrats take over the state Senate, we are going to end cash bail as we know it forever in the state of New York. And we're going to end mass incarceration as we know in the state of New York. So thank you for letting me say a few words. And I appreciate this forum.
Akeem Browder coming on the show Wednesday.
If I may say,
We have 2 minutes.
15 seconds. Tomorrow evening, Thursday, 6 o'clock, I'll be at the Queens Central Library on Merritt Boulevard and 89th Avenue by the bus terminal. They'll be airing a documentary on the murder of Eric Garner. I'm in that documentary, and City Councilman Latchman of Queens is sponsoring the event, and there will be a forum after the airing of the documentary, and I'll be on that forum tomorrow.
And I'd like to say,
as well.
and I'd like to say that of everything that we've talked about and all of that we know about, that you know, like my colleague Akeem said, that it's up to we the people. I think that it's critical that we get involved, that we get engaged, that we support one another, and that we support our communities. And definitely, people on parole, you must vote. You must register. You must vote. We didn't do all that work for nothing.
Just in ending real quick, I think to find out information is not hard. It just takes your time and will. If you think that this isn't going to impact you when it comes to criminal justice in New York or in America, then you're sadly mistaken. Whether you're white, black, Indian, America is made up of a compilation of people from other nations, and yet we pay for this system, and there's some that is deeply entrenched in the system, as either working in the system or being held in the system. So we all have a role in this, and our role can simply be united as long as everyone just takes some time. Khalif Browder Foundation works with anybody that is willing to have the same or has the same vision, and even doesn't. We just want to be able to understand everyone.
And with that, the God in me loves the God in you. And stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist experience. Power to the people. We have another minute for the Bronx.
For the what?
The Bronx. We extend to 59, the Bronx. So, you're welcome here anytime you're ready, my brother.
Thank you.
Because I love what you're doing. I mean, every time I see you, there's something exciting going on.
How can people donate?
You have
For the
Online?
It's online on the website. There's the different memberships when you go onto our website. If you wanted to, because the bailout is already funded, so we don't need funding for that because
great.
Now I have quickly, right? And I need clarification on, because, like I say, I'm on the other end with the legislation.
Let me finish, just because I don't want to lose the.
Okay, go ahead.
We're a 501c3, so of course we only run off funding, and we don't get government support because I don't want to be latched to the system. So the Khalif Browder Foundation has a website. It's KhalifBrowderFoundation.com, and you can go to memberships and look at which membership you feel more
Power to the people.
entrenched with.